Kathy Vick, Deeply Awake, Chats 2017. I'm coming to you today because I want to document a healing. And I'm not exactly sure how to go about it. To give you the specifics then reveals things that I don't want revealed publicly. So without description, I want to discuss what I've just witnessed and what I know to be true. One of the questions that came to me as I was processing this on the porch was, I noticed you see that? It looks like wings, it looks like a rainbow, it looks like it's alive. I was on the porch and I could feel all of the love and the healing and the intent for peace that I have held for a lifetime. That I held for a lifetime for someone who it was appropriate to feel highly conflicted about and to really question whether they deserved it. It got through. Today it came back to me really, really big. And I realized that something had happened. I'd been given a gift. But then I realized, wait a minute, this is a return. This is me experiencing what I've already given to someone else. This is what it feels like to be healed. This is what it feels like to be free. It's over. And it made me wonder about timelines. Because what's happening now is impossible. And it's real, and it's beneficial, and it's happening, and I can count on it. So, it's curious, because I felt on that porch all the positive regard and all the patience and all the, it's gonna be okay, stop worrying, come back to me when I needed it. I spent the morning wrestling with this sensation that I've had since I was a kid. I'd wake up in the morning and everything would be tan and orange, a really icky color. And it'd feel like it'd be in my blood, and in my hair, and on my skin. And I couldn't see anything. And I'd feel such an enveloping despair of, oh no, not again. I'm so shitty at this. Everything, it just hurts, not again. This morning it wasn't like that. It was still the same feeling though. It wasn't quite as urgent or intense. I knew it was a memory, in other words. And I went to that place and time and I realized that it was looking at physical life as a burden. Something intolerable that I required assistance to manage and no one was assisting me. And I was drowning. That's kind of how I felt all the time. It was kind of funny. I had a drowning incident as a kid and I thought that everyone was basically just standing around saying, oh, look at her. She's dying. I really did. It's crazy, isn't it? That's kind of been how I felt my whole life, and I've had a lot of opportunities to have that cemented. Because there have been times when it's like, well, too bad, sister. I guess you're fuck up. Bye. And it's hard. So I don't know. I stood on that balcony and realized that this is a different time. I've said it before, meaning it, and it really is true. I'm in a different timeline now. What's happening is impossible in the other timeline. It's as impossible as seeing Kit Kat with a hyphen and Kit Kat without a hyphen. Okay, it's that impossible. So I said okay, and I looked at the two timelines. I saw how, I've had this weird thing where I thought maybe I'd seen myself, or I was a different version of myself, and there was an intersection at a bookstore here in town. I've recounted it, different timelines. Where in one timeline I had a red VW Bug, and in one timeline I didn't. In one timeline, without the Bug, people in that shop weren't pleasant, and I didn't have a good experience with the Bug. I was me, and everybody liked me, and I liked them, and everything was cool. It was a metaphysical bookstore. And I parked my car, went in, didn't like it. Remember where the book stand was, the magazine rack. Left, my car wasn't there. And I knew it hadn't been stolen. I knew something weird was going on. Went back in, had a much different experience in the bookstore. Was happy, left, and my car was there. And I could tell you other things that would cement it for you. That I'm actually aware of a different, alternate Kathy this lifetime. And there have been intersections. You can take that to the bank. But here I am. On a Tuesday morning, unpartnered, a son in the next room, with instructions now to take care of myself and find new, less taxing, more enjoyable ways of expressing myself. Getting better. This is my time of healing. And believe me, I'll be letting it in. I already have. I'm not going to resist that too much. But I can put limits on it by bringing my old consciousness into this one. Because indeed, in this very life, there's a bifurcation. In this very life, there's a higher and a lower way. And as I stood on that porch, I realized, as I always do when I winnow it down to the basics, it comes down to, in the moment, how you're going to interpret something as threat or gift. That's it. As opportunity or as proof of whatever you want to prove yourself guilty of. In that moment, do you say yes to that stranger? Do you say yes to that text? Do you say yes to that phone call? Do you say yes to that conversation? Do you say yes to that event? That trip? That thought? Or do you say no? Don't you know how serious this is? If you have the choice, it's much different than when you don't think you have a choice. If you have a choice, then it's a dualistic reality right now. My guess is probably in the choice there's going to be something that'll bring you higher or bring you lower. And what I found is what brings me higher is dropping my ego, dropping my need to be seen, dropping me, and thinking about the other person. But that's how I've been as a nurse. How I do it now is different. Because, the admonition as a nurse was to, you leave yourself at the door. You leave your issues and concerns and conflicts and problems at the door. And you walk in and you take care of somebody else. You do what they ask. You get them comfortable. And you become responsible for them. Now I'm being charged to do something else. I know from personal experience that the greatest healings happen when one takes responsibility for oneself. Breaks through fear and says what's on their mind as honestly and as lovingly, as thoughtfully as possible. Being responsible for myself is what I was sort of told not to bring myself into healing situations. And that's great, because I was able to tap into something big and less personalized, more energetic, let's say. And that's great. But you've seen me question, how am I going to do this now? I don't want to heal anybody. I don't want to be responsible for anyone anymore except myself. And I mean that, it's a little bit different with my son, obviously. But even so, being responsible for oneself, that's important. But without that milk of love and kindness, that can be a really hard road, because it means that I've had to accept some things about myself that I'm really not in love with. But I see, come on, let's be real. Everybody else can see it. It's time you see it. Like that. Well, that's not a problem, because there's a lot of good stuff there. And there's some stuff that if it causes me problems, or if I don't like it, well then, how bad do I not like it? If I really don't like it, I won't do it anymore. If I'm conflicted about it, I need to get honest, because it's just acting out. And sometimes you just need to act something out until you can figure it out, and then you can be done with it. You can't do it wrong. But to be responsible for myself and my own feelings of worth. I mean, it wasn't about to be responsible, I need to do all this, 3D shit. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about beginning to believe that what others are seeing is maybe true. Being able to believe at first just one other human being on earth that I had worth. It started, really. I had all this invisible help, and then I had one person who, and I told him I don't think I would have believed anybody else. Because he just came in and said, listen up, you have a couple things wrong. You are drop dead. gorgeous in every way. Stop it. That's an amazing thing to have happen. So, it's too bad it ended so bad. But it was the spark I needed. Because I didn't think it was possible. Yes, spiritually, but not on earth. And so that changed things for me. And I took that worth and I brought it into myself. And I began to see that, because I didn't ever disbelieve him, I just was, it was all brand new. Kind of. To see that some of the really, really best things about me I hadn't even noticed. And they really are great. So anyway, that's what love will do. And I think about that still, and I think about how healing that was. How important that was for me. How important it was for him. Because what was given to me was also given to him. And needed. And now I'm seeing that kind of high regard being given to me by others. And only now am I beginning to believe that they might see something correct. I had this very, very, very loud person in my head whose only job was to scare the shit out of me, it seems, and knock me over and make fun of me. And I don't know, I guess I'm left with this memory of when I was a kid, and I was taking swimming lessons, and it was I think first time I was in the dark at a deep end. I don't know. Anyway, I flailed and I panicked and I lost my way and I was beginning to drown. And then suddenly I was able to. I didn't think that I was going to make it. I remember seeing white, and I remember being lifted out, and I remember as it was happening, I could see the people's legs through the water and the bubbles, and I couldn't figure out why they weren't helping me, why they would let me drown. I couldn't figure it out. And I think that was a motif for me. That was sort of like a metaphor. And on the balcony today, I realized, I'm not sure why I always felt that way. But what I realize now is that underwater, you can't make noise. And I think that's very, very profound in its imagery. For those who have been following along, you know that my great-grandmother, and Boron said, hey, go back to your genealogy and see what happened at the great level, at the great-grandpa and great-grandma level. Find out. Because oftentimes, there's something there that you're living out. So I asked. Turns out great-grandma had a stroke that left her without the ability to speak anymore. And great-grandpa, being the evil son of a bitch he was, imprisoned her in the basement for the rest of her life. And I always felt like I was in some sort of weird soundproof booth. I couldn't really feel anything. I didn't ever felt. I felt, sometimes I did, but I didn't ever feel, I just didn't feel it. There was this layer. And I thought about that today on the balcony and thought, I've silenced myself. I haven't asked for help. I've chosen to struggle and drown and suffer rather than open my mouth and speak. And maybe I just didn't know how. Maybe I was remembering an old life. I don't know. I know that I had a patient who had the very, very same thing happen to her, who, if I didn't know it at the time, but she affected me so much that she's the only patient ever that I ever followed. I wouldn't, honey, you get me for 8 hours, that's all you get. Hope you do well, bye. That's all. I don't follow people. I don't become patients' friends. Nope. And I've tried, and I've promised, and I've always failed. But her, I went and visited her. Because after that first shift with her, I had a dream about what happened. I was her, and I had a dream. And I remember collapsing, and I remember what was said about me. And how awful it was. And what kind of prison I was in for the rest of my life. So she affected me. That story affects me. Voluntary mutism and mutism fascinates me. Communication fascinates me. So, I don't know, I could see those shimmery waves and the legs again, and I'm not underwater anymore. 2222. And maybe it was the water of consciousness. Maybe it was the water of the Holy Spirit. But it rendered me mute while in great distress. And I think, too, allowed me to misinterpret and allowed me access to people who would then reinforce that scenario and feeling. Because it's not just being silenced, but there's panic there. And kind of an oh no, not again. How did this happen? I was feeling so good. Oh no, not again. Here I am again. Oh no, not again. So today I was considering the nature of burdens. I looked up the meaning. And it's can be considered like I love it. I'm just going to put the definition up. But it really has to do with bearing something. A duty. A high duty, like a child. Or something that requires much strength, endurance, but more. Character, almost, sometimes. Burdens. Think of Job. And it is a theme in Judeo-Christianity. And I think it's really just a misinterpretation. That's what I realized this morning before all my miracles happened. That the misinterpretation is that there's a burden. When I had my conversion thingy in on Christmas Eve of 12 that I talk about in All Was Illuminated, it's like everything turned golden. I could see so much. Oh my. And I realized that, we all love each other here. We're madly, deeply, passionately, desperately in love with one another here. And the people who are dinging you and butting up against you and making you cry and shit, well, they're the dear ones. They're the ones that you entrusted your heart to. Come on. And everyone loves each other. And I knew Jesus was around, and he was like so excited about it. The only law in effect is that of benevolence. He kept saying that again and again, and I knew it to be true. And, those are great contrasts. To be able to go there consciously on a, Friday evening in December as a passenger in a car and have that kind of glowy experience. And also be able to have access to this, oh my God, just the despair and the fear and the panic of feeling as if I'm really not going to survive and it's going to be scary and bad. And I gotta fix this, which is how physical reality often felt for me. And in the car, during that experience, a gold glowy one, I understood there is no such thing as a burden. That's nonsense. Oh, we like to call it a burden. Ooh, let's be dramatic about it. Ooh, yeah. No, there is no such thing as a burden. We're here on purpose because we want to be, because we love each other so much, and we're so happy to do it. That's where I was at. And it felt so, oh my God. That's the only place I want to be. My God. Excuse me, and I've heard people talk about near-death experiences, and that was it. It was the field, honey. I was smack dab in the middle of the field. And it's alive with love. It is benevolence itself. And I'm on that porch knowing this to be true while I'm standing there crying, saying, it's over, remembering a lifetime of fear and struggle and guilt and remorse and agony and bitterness and rage. Silent rage, which in the end I think just deadens to a sense of what the fuck, I can't take this anymore. Which is where I was at when I came in this time. And now, the charge is, I want to say it out loud. This is what I've been charged to do. To get stronger. To get ready for surgery. Because I'll need a hip replacement. To not feel guilty and not feel worried and not feel afraid. To write. To explore and to express. To live humbly. Sounds like pretty good marching orders to me, don't you think? So, when one person heals, I think it means, for me, it has, how I define it for me, I began to feel like I had some worth. And that started at my birth. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have something down deep that knew I had every right. And that I have such amazing things to give. And part of the rage is just not being seen for the amazing phantasm I am, to be quite honest with you. But you're really not allowed to own that in this society. If you can't back it up with cash. So that got sublimated. And I took on the belief that I was nothing. And that it was really okay to criticize me and, knock me around. And I didn't like that. But I sure believed in it. I sure argued for it. And now it's different. There is no such thing as a burden. Unless I decide I want to make this task or that task or that task burdensome. And then okay. And if I make it big enough and horrible enough and scary enough, well, I'm bound to finally ask for help. And won't that be fun? There is no burden. So to close, I'm going to let you know that although I truly do want to go to Nebraska with my kid. I mean, I've always wanted to go to Minden, Nebraska. No, Kearney, Nebraska. So I can show my kid this really cool museum. And Minden's pretty cool. Is it Kearney or Minden? I don't know. Anyway, it's a great place to go and it's cheap and everything like that. And although it'd be really super cool and ultra hippie to find myself on the streets of Grand Island, Nebraska at 1 p.m. on August 21st. So I go, oh, or whatever. I'm going to take that back. I'm not making fun of this date anymore. I've had time to reflect, and the truth is that I couldn't figure out why I was dissonant. As I was saying it, I felt dissonant. But I was so thrilled about it and so enthused that I kind of said, yeah, that's going to happen. But I knew there was a split there, and I wasn't entirely sure. I stayed with it, and I'll have to check in with my kid because he wanted to go out of state for this. If that is the continued request, then that's certainly what we'll do. However, if that request has been removed, then it makes really good sense to me to either stake out my little portion of Lookout Mountain, or go up to Leadville. Anybody who knows my story knows that if there's one place on earth that would be totally congruent for me to be at that moment, it would be Leadville. Because there's a rock up there I call the Sisters, always have. Before I met the teachers, before any of my sparkles, that mountain, that's the Sisters. And it's an ancient site. And during this activation, I saw it, that I had actually energetically already created a Merkaba. And it just is a, mindfulness and getting the geometrics on board and spreading out the complexity. But, it was said, it'd be super easy to go up there and spin, leave, and come back. If there was a place to do it, it would be there. So I think I need to be there. And I don't need to rent a campsite, although I probably will. I like the idea of going up there, doing it, and leaving. Actually. But for me, the intention is not to do any of that, honestly. My intention is to transmit to the planet, to every heart, what it is I received that evening 5 years ago, when everything went golden. And I knew in a flash, if everyone could feel this, if everyone on earth could feel this for even a moment, consciously, everything would change. It would have to. Because any burden we pick up, we're doing so consciously, knowing it's a choice. We may spend the rest of our lives making that choice, honestly. That event happened in December of 2012, and it's only now landing. So, I knew then it wouldn't be something that goes doing and everyone goes, oh, let's live in peace and harmony. No. Once you know for a fact in your biology that the things that eat you up from the inside make you feel like a piece of garbage, that you don't belong here and you're a piece of shit and nothing's right and no one loves you and the person who loves you the most won't even acknowledge you, these kind of things, gone. You understand that the people who beat you and raped you and humiliated you were doing so on your request, with your permission. At that level you can see it and you understand it's okay. Look who you are now. Look who they are now. And once you've got that, it can't do anything but change your life. Quick or slow, doesn't matter. How much shit do you have to get through? How many people do you have to forgive? How much do you have to forgive about yourself? Because that's the bottom line. You get in that wash and you realize there is nothing to forgive. Everything is as it should be and always has been and always will be. And this is quite a ride. And there's only one being doing it anyway. Joy, joy, joy. Release, release, release. So for me, that's all I want to do on the eclipse. I want everybody to feel it, to know it, so they can't disbelieve it. And if they do disbelieve it, they are unsuccessful like me. So if I go away and come back, oh yeah, well that's nice. Ding, ding, ding. Fuck. Yeah, weird things happen to me. So if that's what happens, fine. If I get overcome by spin, fine. It's not about that. It's about wearing that crown and knowing what to transmit. And so, is that a Christed human being or is that somebody who's just a nice person? Oh, I don't know. It kind of depends on your state of consciousness. Depends on how much you've been listening to. Depends on your depth. It's got nothing to do with me. Long time coming there. So I don't resent when somebody doesn't figure it out. I don't think that that's wise anymore. And I can feel a lot more compassion for people who are really resistant. Their resistance is their dissonance. Okay? That's it. My resistance is my dissonance. And it's the stuff I resist. It's the stuff I feel guilty about or that I cry about. La la la. So, I learned a lot this morning. And I can forever say that that old line I used to run doesn't work anymore. It's not going to work anymore. That basically that I think the bottom line was I always felt unsafe. I always felt about 2 inches away from dying and running out. And that's not a good place to be. And that's as much, it's in every area. Every area, just, kind of a, And so now, I really think that, oh no, not again. And this burden stuff, well, bye-bye burden. Alright, you want to keep doing that and having that psychodrama, you go right ahead, Kath. Isn't that cute? Oh. And really, that's part of it, is just, if I find myself there, I'm just having troubles. Oh well. But, and I've run my bullshit long enough, I think I can stop it, and everyone's going to agree that that's probably more comfortable. That's what I've always found. Whenever I've stumbled upon something that's just really nasty about my behavior, that, pretty much just acts as a fart in church, and no one will tell me what it is. Well, when I finally figure it out, then I don't have to do it anymore, and everyone's happier. It's just really hard. People won't tell me because they don't know. It's just something, it's just deep. So, and I'm aware of it. Go, oh, my motivation is that, and la 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 la. And it's like, oh, okay, well, finally, soon enough, you'll get it, girly. It took a long time. But I know what I was healing. And it's a lot. And so I want to end that way. Because, oh my God, has it been fun to watch the plum tree. There's this really awesome videos I watched on the redheads, on New Zealand's ancient history, and then Cousins Across the Sea. And I got to see how the Lemurians spread. It was fun. It's like, it took me 3 videos to finally figure out, ow, yeah, that makes sense. But oh my God, if what I have to offer you, it resonates with you, I would suggest watching these videos, because there is a lot of ancient visuals in it. And it's funny how a lot of those are triggers. Whew. Green stone, not jade, green stone. Well, yeah, jade. That's important. I looked down at my finger and I had my moldavine on. It's green. It's not that green stone. But there are many things, and the totems and darn it, if it isn't Alaska and Hawaii. So, yeah. It was really nice. And so when I saw that, and I saw the sort of the capping history, is that the people who started this whole thing, excuse me, they were not Polynesian even. There was something that was happening long before, and he returned to Hawaii. It's like, oh, smoking gun, anyone? So it was very beautiful to see what happened there, and to see our history, to see where we've been. So then, after that, I came back and looked at the Trump stuff again. It's like, oh my God. And then I looked at some Judeo-Christian video. It's like, you know what? Okay. I took part in that whole psychodrama. I mean, obviously. And he's a best bud and all that stuff. So I'm very confident and comfortable in that arena. But wow, is that an energy? Whew. That is not what was going on with the Maoris at the same time. At the same time, we have the Maori and we have Jesus. And we've got these Jesus people and the Romans telling everybody, hey, nothing happened before us. And everybody just sort of believes it. And it's so nonsense. So I was just really grateful to connect back with the ancestors, who indeed are we. And so please, if you want to feel better about things, you might want to watch that, because it's always a relief when I see old stuff. I would watch Ancient Aliens for that, just to see the monuments, but then they would have this weird spin on everything, and I wound up watching it without listening to it at the end. This was much more satisfying because it's the old structures, and we're rediscovering ourselves. And we can see the impy consciousness running alongside, trying to cover it up. It's like, yeah, whatever. Silly thing. So that very much helped perspective. But I think if you listen hard enough, what you'll hear when I talk about these things that are happening on the mass consciousness level is that there's a suffering going through it. There's a consciousness going through it. And you're not wrong, bad person if you're in the middle of this nightmare. But admitting it's a nightmare is a good first step. That's all I'm saying. Because there's so much more available. And it's so much sturdier. And it hurts less. It doesn't bruise you up when you try and give it a hug. It's kind of crazy that way. So, and to hear there are Egyptian and Indian influences in all of this, like, holy crap. And red-haired people who just hang out with the people who are darker. It's like, oh my God. Heaven. It was so much fun. So those videos really helped a lot. So my job now is to get better, as I've been saying, as they have been telling me, and I have been disbelieving them. And now I think I can confidently say that what I've learned today is that a lot of this has to do with my own behavior, though, to close, and being truly responsible. And if I've decided that something gives me distress, and I do not act to relieve my distress, and the distress continues, then I'm choosing to do something in order to feel distress. And that has to stop. That's nonsense. And I give that to you just because you might also have this. And it's just, there's no magnetic lock on it anymore, though. And I'm feeling so much freer to move around. We've all talked about this waiting period, that everyone felt like they were in stasis or were in a holding pattern. And I don't argue with that stuff. I don't argue with myself when it comes to what my consciousness needs in my body. And that's why my diet's been weird, and that's why a lot of things have been weird. Because I don't argue with my intuitive nudges. And I was on a full stop. And I would try, and I couldn't break through. But I also know that this particular koan I've been trying to crack since about 85, and it's very fascinating to see it crumble. I didn't know it was connected to so much, and I didn't know how big a role redemption, forgiveness, and homecoming would have to do with it. I had no idea. So I guess I'm also mentioning it because I really, really want you to know that if you're struggling with something that is like a motif in your life, or something that expresses differently but it's the same idea, like my drowning thing and the not speaking thing and the not asking for help and feeling helpless and hopeless my whole life, well, that's one motif, right? But there are many. And I guess I stand as an example of someone who's willing to look at their lives as a laboratory and as living art. And I can see what I'm trying to tell myself, but sometimes only with reflection. And the thing is that what I'm trying to tell myself, when I'm trying to understand, impacts and involves people I know and my interactions. And what I need to know might be the value of money, or the importance of love over things, or the importance of showing up for someone else and demonstrating your love for them. Many things like that. What it really boils down to is worth. To close, I'm going to remind you of this dream that I've been reminded of it again and again. So I'm going to tell you. There's this dream where we're in a cellar. We come out. We sit on a bench of high honor. A thing comes out and goes "ha," and it's this big, huge clarion call. And then the sky, the whole place had just been miles and miles of gray concrete, and then all of a sudden, poof, the sky is white with UFOs that are just like in the sky. I don't know how they're not falling out of the sky from bumping each other. And then we go into the cellar, and so many bad things happen, and we're convinced we're going to die all the time. And it's scary as heck, and it's like crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis, and ups and downs and highs and lows, and then suddenly it's over, and it's all good. And there's this group of people, and they tell us, well, yeah, it was always going to be okay. And I remember being so pissed about that. Why didn't you tell me? Why did I have to go through all of that? I believed that. I was so pissed because I really believed it. And all along they knew I didn't have to? Well, you creeps. Why didn't you tell me? Well, that's this time. And I was telling Melissa about it the other day, and I said, it still pisses me off why they didn't tell me. I may have recorded it on tape. And Melissa said, well, they did. In the dream. They did. It's like, oh, yeah, you're right. And now is the time where everything is quiet and resolved. And, like, there doesn't have to be any highs and lows anymore like that. Like, oh my God, this is the end. Oh, this is the end. Oh, this is the end. It's not like that anymore. I'm not like that anymore. So nothing has to be like that anymore. And there were so few things that would trigger me. So few things. But when I was triggered, it's like, the sky's falling. And I think you've seen a death motif in this, haven't you? And I have. Had NDEs and stuff, and it's been, I don't really, the only reason I'd be concerned about dying now is timing on Sam's behalf, but death is never ill-timed, so I'm not too worried about it. But recently I did go through a really, really, really deep, dark, another mortality pocket. I think it was the last one, but I'm just, oh shit, I wanted more time kind of thing. Maybe this is it. Gosh darn it. And I do that a lot, is like, because these changes are so profound and so cellular. And of course I'd be feeling that way. Of course. But they did tell me. So I'm telling you. The highs and lows and the, oh my God, this is the end. Oh, this is the end. It's not the end. Hang in there. All right? It's an amazing time to be alive, and I'm so honored to be in front of you now. Thank you.